Hello, this is Dr. Ford Brewer with PrevMed, Heart Attack, Stroke, Cancer, Disability Prevention. Today I'm going to be debunking a debunking video. Why would I do that? Well, the topic is what the health. It's all about plant-based diets. So there's some really good research and really good concepts and debate that needs to be had around here. First of all, they call it debunking, but that's clearly clickbait. This was done by a group called Plant-Based News, and they're interviewing Dr. Neal Bernard, the president of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Basically, this was it's not debunking. Dr. Bernard was one of the heroes of the movie What the Health, and he thought it was a great movie. You know, when you hear the term, the clickbait there is, oh, well, maybe this doctor says I've totally changed, or they totally misinterpreted. Neither were the case. It was an advertisement for What the Health. Now, What the Health is probably worth advertising. I will tell you, I'll go ahead and give you my own personal perspectives. I've been trying to get people to eat plant-based for 30 years. I trained in preventive medicine and ended up running the program at Johns Hopkins 30 years ago in prevention. All of us there. The message was, get people to eat plant-based. We'll wipe out half of, or more, we'll maybe wipe out most of heart attack, stroke, and a lot of cancers. And if heart attack and stroke and heart failure, most of the disability that's out there. Well, 30 years ago, that message didn't get across very well. But, and here's some of my negative emotion about this. It takes a young person with a video imitating Michael Moore, creating a conspiracy debate, and throwing government and industry people under the bus for, again, a conspiracy, and animals and humans are the victims of all of that. You know what? If it takes all of that to get that message across, so be it. But I'm still going to debunk a lot of the stuff. Like all of us, they make mistakes. Sometimes these mistakes can be overinterpreted. Now, let's talk about Dr. Paul Bernard. He is, again, a cardiologist. I respect a lot of the stuff he's done. I think he's done great work in terms of moving this agenda forward. He started what I think is a political action committee, not a finance kind of committee, but an information type committee. And as you see in this movie, it's all about plant-based and other healthy options. So, again, big believer. I'm on the team with these guys. We're together. But again, let's be careful about what we say and how we say it. Like I said, this is a what's called TubeBuddy. It analyzes the videos that are out there. This is the video by Plant-Based News. It's debunking What the Health. This is the guy that was interviewing Dr. Bernard. 97,000 views. He owns the, what? Let me see. Number 2 spot in What the Health Debunked. So if you go to What the Health Debunked, you're going to see this video. He owns the number 4 spot in plant-based nutrition. When I say spot, I'm talking about that's the 4th video that will come up if you enter the keyword plant-based nutrition. So you can get certain components of TubeBuddy for free, by the way, if you're interested, and get a lot of very interesting analytics. Now let's talk about a couple of, this is not about YouTubes, this is about plant-based diet and What the Health and debunking What the Health. Or maybe debunking the debunking of What the Health. One of the first things that Dr. Bernard says when he comes out is the myth around sugar. Can eating sugar cause too much, or eating sugar cause diabetes? And he said that's a naive assumption and incorrect. he's right. Eating too much sugar doesn't cause diabetes. Then he goes on to say, and the video goes on to say, eating too much fat causes diabetes. Well, that's not true either. Well, eating fat doesn't. Eating too much of everything causes obesity, and obesity is a major risk factor for diabetes. But Olivia Yang, who was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes at age 19, and obviously has not been eating too much, and myself, significant insulin resistance or prediabetes at age 59, I haven't been eating too much either. I've been eating plant-based for 30 years, so I don't think they wonder why they didn't interview me for that video. So it's incorrect to say that eating fat creates diabetes. What is correct is that obesity is a risk factor. So diabetes is like this. There are a couple of big issues. Number one, genetics. Number two, age. And number three, obesity. So if your genetics is such that it made fairly weak beta cells, if you're approaching 60, like I am, actually I'm there, or if your body is so big and you've got a lot of fat cells, all of these things are going to stress your beta cells, and that will take you down the road to diabetes. Over 50% of us have diabetes, have at least insulin resistance by the time we're age 60, and most of us don't know it. A third of us have diabetes by the time we're, a quarter of us by the time we're 65. Full-blown diabetes, and a third don't even know it. There's probably 6 or 7, maybe up to 10 pre-diabetics for every diabetic. So what that tells you is once we get into our 60s and 70s, most of us have at least pre-diabetes. We're totally unaware of that. I see that in my practice all day, every day. Now, here's another area where Dr. Bernard makes a quote that could really be misinterpreted. He says, the research is really clear that eating vegan is great for diabetics. It's the best thing. Well, so I pulled up the 15 most popular vegan snacks. Here's number 1, Doritos. Oh, here we go. That's popular for a diabetic? Well, okay, well let's look at some of the others. Fritos, number 5, kettle-based potato chips. Number 6, Earth Balanced. Well, it says Earth Balanced and it's vegan, so maybe that's healthy. Well, it's cheddar flavor squares. In other words, it's a bunch of refined flour with salt and cheddar flavoring in it. And I don't think that's healthy for a diabetic either. Go on down the list. Pardon me if I'm belaboring the point. Newman's Own. Well, Newman's Own is usually really good food. Organic, so it's got to be good, right? Pretzels? Pretzels are not good for diabetics. Okay, well, how about this? Cookie. Stacy's pita chips. Again, flour. Sour Patch Kids. Pure sugar. Fructose. No, these things are not good. They're all vegan, and they're not good for diabetics. Actually, they're not really good if you're not diabetic. They're just not as dangerous for you if you have totally functioning insulin and glucose metabolism. So here's another area where they get into a mess, and they overstate things and need to be more careful, and that is the statement that eggs are bad for you. Well, the recent research has been really clear. Eggs are not as bad as we thought. The first thing was, the cholesterol was bad. That's what we used to think. Our body, every cell in our body, the membrane is made of cholesterol. The hormones that we make are made of cholesterol. We need cholesterol, and in fact, our body makes cholesterol. Some sources would say as much as 100 eggs worth of cholesterol is made by our body daily. So adding a few eggs is probably not going to do that. And that's what the research is starting to show. Oh, but Dr. Bernard and the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine and the video, What the Health, all have said, look, that research is done by the egg industry, and those guys are all unethical. Those guys, maybe they're smiling as they do research on this egg, but the reality is their hands in the pocket of industry, and they don't mind beating up on chickens and letting humans die over it. Again, I realize the ethics around animal industries is a big issue. I have tended to not be... I've tended to say what's good for health, human health, in terms of eating food, and leave the ethics around animal industries to other folks. The reality is this, though. I've eaten a mostly plant-based diet for 30 years, and if the typical American had eaten what I've eaten for the past 30 years, you would not see the money in the dairy, meat, pork, egg industries that you see now. So I think if you do the right thing for your health, that's going to end up being the right thing for the environment too. Here's another mess, again associated with ethics and the egg committee, egg industry. He says, well, he's got his own research, and it's funded by the NIH, so therefore it's totally transparent, and it's you can totally rely on it. A little bit of an overstatement. I've had my own NIH grants. I've seen NIH grants like my own get tied up in ethics review committees for years. So here's the issue. People that do the peer review, this is by the NIH themselves, and it's managing conflict of interest in the NIH peer review of grants. So they realize they've got a problem too. Look, it's a people-related process. My own research, by the way, had nothing to do with my ethics. It had to do with the ethics of of the subjects and whether it was a health issue for them or someone else. So, if you look again, clarity and total transparency. This is a poster that was put out by Dr. Bernard's Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. It sort of blames heart attacks, strokes, colon cancer, diabetes. Really? And prostate cancer on eggs. Come on. Eggs are not they're nowhere near the most common problem or the biggest risk factor for these issues. One thing that Dr. Bernard and all of the anti-egg folks and or most of the anti-egg folks, and clearly the video, What the Health, forget is that the problems, if there are problems with eggs that are significant, have to do with the yolk. We used to be worried about cholesterol. As I said, that's not likely to be as much of an issue as we thought. There's still a thing called carnitine, which is changed into trimethylamine oxide. I won't get any deeper into that. It's just that does have some risk for heart attack and stroke. Again, that's in the yolk, not the egg white. So let's bring that back to a practical application. When I became pre-diabetic, I looked like this, so it wasn't due to obesity. And in case you haven't, I'm a Southern boy, in case you've missed the accent, and I doubt that you have. So grits were my go-to meal for breakfast and for many other things as well. As you know, grits and shrimp and grits have become very stylish these days. I trained in Charleston, maybe the world's capital of shrimp and grits, and I love them. But for me, at this point, you can make arguments about cholesterol and shrimp. The grits are more unhealthy for me because of my inability to metabolize the polysaccharides in the grain, in the grits, in the corn. So guess what? What's all that got to do with eggs? I gave up grits, and I've gone to an egg white omelet for breakfast. And I can guarantee you, pardon the video, I can guarantee you that egg white omelets do not increase my blood sugar, whereas grits did. Now, again, speaking of the ethics of the animal industry, I've spent a good bit of time providing occupational medicine in industry. I've toured the Smithfield ham pork rendering plants in North Carolina and plants in Oklahoma. My extended family, generations worth of chicken farmers in North Carolina. I've actually helped clean the chicken houses. And this is, if you can't recognize that, what this is an egg production facility. Those are chickens that basically the food is in front of them and they're unable to move. So plant industry is ugly. I'm not going to argue with that. I will argue, again, and if people ate as many, I said plant industry, I'm sorry, animal industries, animal production for food is an ugly, all of them are ugly industries. Now, these guys are some heroes. This is called, this mayonnaise is by a company called Hampton Creek. As you see, it's an egg company, except it's all made from plants. And actually the stuff is really, really good. I use it myself. I have some of the sriracha here, but I use some of their mayonnaise as well. There are actually other competitors out there. There's nothing better. I wish 30 years ago we'd had plant-based replacements for eggs. In the video What the Health, they talk about emails where egg industry leaders have threatened the lives of the entrepreneurs that started this company. Well, I have no argument that there are quote conspiracies. I wouldn't call it a conspiracy. I would call it again, politics and business are people-related issues, and people can get ugly sometimes. People treat animals ugly, and as long as we eat animals, we're going to support industries that treat animals ugly. That's not my issue. It hasn't been my issue for 30 years, although it's becoming more and more as I get older. It's too simple, too easy, and sometimes deceptive to say NIH research is clean, every other research is bad. That's a little bit overdone. Eggs cause diabetes. No, they don't. Eating fat causes diabetes. Eating fat doesn't cause diabetes. If you eat a lot of fat and you're overweight, that causes diabetes. But again, let's get back to the basics. If you do the right thing for your health, you're not going to be supporting a lot of animal industries. They would probably exist, but they would be boutique industries that wouldn't have the money that they have behind them. Again, my videos are starting to get a little bit long, but thank you for your patience.